Hi everyone, in this video I want to show a gameplay between Grandmaster Vladislav Nevednichy from Romania and Grandmaster Karen Movsziszian from Armenia. This game was played in World Senior Championship 50+ tournament held in Bucharest, round 4. Before this round there were only 6 players with 3 out of 3, so the winner of this round might get on the first place after 4 rounds. It was an interesting game, with mistakes from both sides, but Black's main problem was that he was afraid to castle and White punished him. Let's see the game. Vladislav started with e4, d6, d4, knight to f6, knight to c3, g6, and we have the Pirc defense. And the most aggressive way to respond to this defense is f4, the Austrian attack. But White opted to develop the bishop to e3. Next is queen to d2 and long castle. After this he will storm his pawns toward Black king side. Black continue with a6. He wants to expand very quickly on the queen side with b5 and bishop to b7. Usually in this position Black goes for bishop to g7 and short castle, but expanding on the queen side is also an alternative. White continue with queen to d2, b5, f3, preventing any knight jump, and also this pawn prepares g4. Knight b7. Black idea is to push c5 and attack White center. A long castle, bishop to b7, g4. White starts his attack, which consists of 3 steps. Push pawns, make contact with opponent's pawns and exchange them. h6. Black doesn't want it White to play bishop to a6, so he played himself h6. h4, bishop to g7, developing the last minor piece, knight to h3. After his pushing g5 and Black recapture, he wants to take with the knight. Black also needs to develop his queen, and for this he can move the knight to b6 and place the queen on d7, and he can castle long in this line. Also the knight from b6 can jump to c4, forking the queen and the bishop. In the game he continued with rook to c8, and this is a new move in this position. Maybe he's anticipating that the c file will open after he's pushing c5. g5, making contact between pawns, and this is the second step when we attack. Black took, White recapture with the knight, c5, d takes, knight takes on c5, and this move allows White to go forward and push e5, and Black cannot take because he's losing the rook from the corner. For example, after e5, d takes, queen takes, rook takes on d8 check, king takes, knight to f7 check, king to e8, and knight takes on h8, bishop takes on h8, and bishop takes on c5. White is a rook up in this position, so in the game he did not went for this move and he played a3, preventing b4, but this pawn move allows Black to attack it with a5 and b4. Another way for White was to move the king away to b1, getting away from the c file. Black doesn't have any attacking move in this position, so he needs to improve his piece activity. The only piece that Black needs to develop is the queen, and she can go on the most forward square to a5, and combined with the darker bishop can get some counter chances on the queen side. Instead, Black continue with queen to c7, king to b1. Black can castle and finish his opening, but he played another move, rook to b8. It seems that he wants to move away the light square bishop, and after he moves the knight to free the dark square bishop, he will push b4. It's a sharp game. Both sides are trying to attack each other. Black king is in the middle of the board, so White needs to punish him and open the center. Bishop to d4 was played, preventing Black from making any discovery. If the knight moves, White will exchange the bishop, so he continued with bishop to a8, bishop to g2. With this move White connected the rooks, but the bishop is behind his pawns. He's behaving like a pawn. Usually we should develop our pieces to have a purpose, and better was to place the bishop on h3, where he controls this diagonal. White continue with a5. When your opponent attacks you on a flank, you need to open the center. White saw that this pawn is defend it only once, so he played bishop to f1 back, attacking this for a second time. Black defended the pawn with bishop to c6. The drawback of this bishop move is that he's interposing between the knight and the queen, and white can push e5 and expose black king. Black cannot take because he's losing the knight, so he moved the knight to h5, freeing his bishop. He takes on d6, queen takes on d6, queen to e3, attacking the knight. Black exchanged the bishops. Rook takes, queen to c7. Before making a retreat move, first you need to consider the counter-attacking moves or forward moves, and queen to f6 was a better alternative, attacking f3 for a second time. In this position, white noticed that black has two undefended pieces, the knight from c5 and the rook from h8. So in the future the queen can land on c3, attacking this knight and making some discovery with the rook. White continue with knight to d5, attacking the queen, queen to d6, knight to f4, another discovery with the rook, queen to c7, knight takes on h5, rook takes, bishop to h3, activating the bishop, and black should try to exchange it with bishop to d7. In the game he moved the king away from the same file with the white queen, bishop to g4, rook to h8, and now is the moment for white to play queen to c3. Black is losing the knight, or he will get mated after queen to c3. If he tries to move the knight away, we'll have mating 2 after rook to d8 and queen takes on h8. So black needs to defend the rook, but he's losing the piece. In the game he tried h5 to open more lines towards black king, f6, attacking the knight, but the drawback of this move is that e6 square becomes weak, and white would love to play a knight to e6, forking the king and the queen, but the knight from c5 is preventing this, so he needs to kick this knight away. And a good way would be to make a discovery, for example rook to d3, and if the knight takes, white will win the queen. In the game he made the discovery, but with the rook d to d1, and if black takes white knight, white will take black knight, so he needs to defend this knight. Any knight move back anywhere, white will win the queen. So there are two options to defend the knight: queen to e5, but this is losing a piece after queen takes on c5, queen takes, and knight to e6, winning the queen, and white is a piece up in this position. In the game black played the other option with bishop to e8, moving the bishop back, and now the queen is defending the knight. But the problem with this move is that white can continue his third phase of his attack and take on g6, and black will be mated soon after this line. Rook takes, e5, rook to h8, king to e7, and he's losing the queen. In the game after bishop to e8, white did not take on g6 and he went for the piece. So he took the knight, queen takes on c5, knight to e6 check, king to g8, and knight takes on c5. White is a piece up in this position. Black continue with f5, kicking the bishop away, bishop to h3, rook takes on h5, bishop to g2, rook to g5, attacking the bishop, rook to d2, defending, bishop to c6, rook to e1, and after this move black resigned. A possible continuation would be king to f7, rook d to e2, pressuring this pawn for a second time, defending, knight to e6, attacking the rook, rook to h5, f4, bishop takes on g2, rook takes on g2, before knight to g5 check, king to g8, 8 takes on before, 8 takes on before, knight to f3, attacking g6, defending, rook to e6, attacking for a second time, rook to h6, defending, knight to e5, attacking for a third time, and black doesn't have a good move. If he tries to defend with rook to g8, he's losing e7 pawn, so he can threaten mate on h1 with this rook move, rook takes on e7, check, king to g8, defending against the mate, king to f8, rook to b7, rook to a6, rook to d1, threatening mate again on d8, rook to a8, knight to d7, king to g8, knight to f6, check, king to f8, b3, rook to c8. The rooks enter the 7th rank and it's over. Mate on f7 cannot be stopped after rook to h1, checking to b2, rook to h2 and mate. The other players with 3 points draw their games, so Vladislav became the sole leader after 4 rounds in the World Senior Championship over 50 years. So this was the game between Grandmaster Vladislav Nevednicy from Romania and Grandmaster Karen Movsziszian from Armenia. If you found this video useful, click on the like button, share this video, watch other games from my channel, leave some comments and suggestions in the comment section. See you next time. Bye.